Hey, it's Rachel. It's Rachel Kohler, Dog Training, and I'm here with Susan with Pack Leader Dog Training, and we're here for our weekly Q&A. I know it's missed a couple weeks, but that's fine. We're here now. Looks a little bit different. I am dog sitting for Ford. So Ford's on his bed on a place, and Gaia's right there on place, and they've been doing really good, hanging out. For anyone who's watched our past Q&As, you know what that introduction looked like. They've been in command for a while, and they've just been doing really good together.
It actually looks like you have a green screen behind you. Like it looks like
Yeah,
you're
this is
real,
fake.
but behind you isn't real.
Right. They're statues, actually.
Okay, so
All right, ready to dive in?
we're ready. My 2-year-old rescue jumps all over me when I get her leash, making it hard to put it on her. What can I do?
All right, so 2-year-old jumps on you when you get her leash. So I'm going to pull this out of my toolbox that I learned from Susan. Usually I would say to correct jumping, you go with the leash pop. That's not going to help when the leash isn't on the dog. So I guess I should take a step back. It's an unwanted behavior, right? So we want to apply a deterrent, right? Something to make the dog think, wow, jumping's not a lot of fun. So you can't do a leash pop because the dog is not wearing a leash. So you could do a few things before, like be mindful of your body language, right? And mindful of what you're doing. Because a lot of times when people get a leash, it's time to go for a walk. So you're super excited. And you say, yeah, we're going to get the leash and we're going to have fun. Well, that's going to amp the dog up, first off. So if you're calm and you just get the leash and the dog still jumps on you and acts like a fool, you can use a pet convincer. Had my trick pouch right here. Use a pet convincer. So the dog would jump on you, you would mark it with no, and then you'd spray them with the compressed air. The dog's probably going to be like, what the crap was that? And they're not going to jump on you. And if they jump on you again, and then they're going to be like, wow, when all 4 feet are on the floor, nothing crazy happens. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But that would be my go-to. What do you think, Susan? I stole your answer because you taught me all about the pet convincer.
Compressed air, some of my favorites. It's really just a startle effect, you know. It's more subtle than a leash pop, so it's not even like that it's such a severe punisher. It just really catches the dog off guard. And then like I just want you to be calm, right? If you didn't have pet convincer, what I used to do back in the day before fancy tools is I would just do like a finger poke.
Oh,
right? So if the dog jumps up, I might poke them in their side. So I'm just like, no, poke, or no, poke in the chest. So if it's a bigger breed dog, then I would just say no and poke them in the chest. Usually that's enough to get them down.
Right, because they're like, what the heck?
Yeah. Now that they're calm, I'm going to continue on as normal. But that's the goal, right? So whatever picture you want, create it because you can. So if you're like, I want my dog to be calm whenever I put the leash on, make that picture happen however you can. So don't just kind of deal with it like the dog's jumping and it only takes a second, find their thing on their collar and put it on. No, like I'm gonna make it the picture that I want it to be. So no jumping. Now that you're calm, put the leash on.
Yeah. That's great. I don't think I've ever heard you say that quote before. Don't know if it just came to you on the spot, but that was really great. That was great. Make the picture you want, or whatever you said. I know I won't do it justice, but makes a lot of sense.
We'll get back and cut it out of there.
Right? Like, that's going to be a clip. So, ready for question 2?
Ready.
I recently saw where it was advertised that by changing my dog's diet, it will help him be less anxious and behave better. What's y'all's opinion on that?
So,
I'm sorry.
Everybody is entitled to their opinion, right? But you're asking me mine. So I don't feel like that, like a change in diet would change the pet's behavior and or temperament, I guess you would say. Train your dog. I've seen dogs on raw And I've seen dogs on kibble, better kibble, and crappy kibble. Were they all able to be trained? Yes. So do I feel like I need to make you spend more money? Not only do you have to pay me
It's the
several
time.
$1,000s to
Ooh.
train your dog, but can you also spend some money changing their food to raw, because that's not inexpensive? Like, no, I'm going to help you out as feasibly as I can. I'm not here to like gouge you,
Mhm.
and I just don't see a benefit to it. Because like I said, I've seen dogs on every spectrum of feed, and they're all able to be trained. So
Mhm.
I would say don't waste your money. Train your dog and feed them whatever you think is appropriate for them.
Right, exactly, exactly, exactly. So sorry I had to put you in the hot seat there for a second with that one. I just really wanted to talk about this because that was my question, Susan. I wanted to know your opinion on that.
Oh,
Um
yeah.
sorry guys. Um yeah, exactly what you said. Like if you're gonna feed your dog raw or if you're gonna feed your dog kibble, feed your dog what you want to feed him because you feel like that's the best choice for you and your dog, whether that be the best choice for you money wise or like I have to feed this one raw because she's allergic to everything. Um, but feeding is like health, right? And then training is behavior. They're two separate ball games. Now, if I want to play devil's advocate, I could say maybe the only time I can see food changing a behavior is if your dog's like allergic to the food or if it's upsetting their stomach and it's making them feel like crap. That
Hmm.
doesn't mean you would need to switch to raw. You would just need to find a food that doesn't make them sick. But like that's my only time I can see food affecting a dog's behavior.
Right.
So,
Like I've seen it, like, so if they're on a food that doesn't agree with them, they could have skin issues. So like look at
mhm,
their feet excessively or look at themselves excessively. Or like GI upset. So they might do vomiting and or diarrhea.
mhm,
So they might be having accidents in the house. That's when I would delve into what food are you feeding.
right.
But as far as anxiety goes, I would never make that correlation between anxiety and what are you feeding your dog.
So I just want to touch on that because there is an advertisement out there. Sorry, but I don't agree with it. I think it's scamming and I think it's lying. And that's just my opinion. This is my page. I can give my opinion. My page and Susan's page. Um, I don't like it. So that's that. And we can leave it on that. I won't go too far into it. But yes,
Okay.
training to fix behaviors and to help with anxiety. Food is for like health.
Mhm. Okay. Is it possible to get a dog to enjoy car rides?
So, is it possible? Maybe. But that shouldn't be your goal. You should have realistic expectations. If your dog doesn't like the car, then your goal should be to try to make the car as less stressful as possible. Now, you would go about that through training, teaching the dog to exist in the car, whether that be teaching them to exist in a crate calmly in the car or teaching them to lie down calmly in the car. Um, because the point of a car ride is to get them from A to B. So if your dog hates car rides and you just like to go around for joy rides, then I'm sorry, but like maybe you just shouldn't have your dog go with you because that's not their thing. You got to know your dog. But you can help them be more comfortable by giving them guidance and giving them kind of an idea of what's expected of them when they enter this large metal contraption and they get teleported somewhere else. Because that's how it is for the dogs, right? They don't know what they're doing. Like Gaia does great in the car. She's been trained to just lie down when we're in the car. But she doesn't like the car ride. She pants the whole time. I think it stresses her out, but she's fine. Like she's as calm as she can be because she's lying down and we get to where we need to go. That's
Yeah.
what I think.
Just existence. Like you're probably asking because your dog doesn't enjoy the car. And so you want them to enjoy it. But it's the same thing with people. So let's say your kid hates school. How can you make them enjoy it? You probably can't. But you
Mm-hmm.
can have them tolerate it because it's just a fact of life. Like you have to go to school, you have to. Then when you
Right.
graduate, then you can do something you want to do. But same thing with the car. Like if they hate the car, that really sucks, but we can work to get them to tolerate it. Can we ever get them to enjoy it? Like Rachel said, maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
Like Jack. So my board and train, you may have said he hated dogs, right? Because every time he saw a dog, he's like barking and lunging, and I don't know that he has a significant bite history on a dog, but I could see like he would want to do damage to a dog. Now does he enjoy my dogs? Mm-hmm. He tries to play with Sadie sometimes, but like they just exist. And so I kind of don't care if he enjoys dogs. Would it be cute? Yeah, it would be cute. But I'm not going to force him to be like buddies. He just has to exist. Same
Right.
thing.
I completely agree.
Mhm.
I like what you said when you said that it's just a fact of life. You always come at me with like the best way of saying things. I'm like, Susan, how do you sound so great?
Thank you.
Um,
I knew this question already, so I prepared. No, just kidding.
I actually have my notes. Um, so I have no good way of transitioning onto the next question. So I really hope y'all enjoy me like bubbling with the so and here's the next question. So hope
Yeah,
y'all like that.
we'll just be like, next. Just kidding.
Okay. Okay. Shut up, Susan. um okay. Where am I at? Okay, question 4. I'm training my dog place, but he just stands there and whines. What should I do?
First of all, is your dog on kibble?
You
Because
should
you may
probably switch him to raw.
you should switch him to raw. Just
Oh,
kidding, JK.
we're funny.
So place actually means to lay down. Okay. So they said they're just training that? They just started?
Uh, yeah, just I'm training my dog place, but he just stands there and whines.
Okay. Um, so for anyone that's just starting, I don't say place until I get the behavior that I want. Same thing with everything, any command. So to me, I won't even say the word place until the dog is on the bed laying down.
Mm-hmm.
So just a note for later on different commands or anybody that hasn't taught place yet. I think you said the word too soon because standing on place isn't place to me. But it's okay. It's easy to fix.
Mm-hmm.
So since you're just starting, you would do food luring. Your dog goes on place. You lure them into a down. Then once they're in a down, you'd say good and give them the food reward. After that, you'd build up duration. And distance. So you might take one step back, say good, give a food reward. But the dog only gets rewarded when they're in a down on the
Mm-hmm.
bed. After you do significant reps, you will be able to punish for the act of them actually breaking place, which would be standing up or getting off. But in the beginning stages, I don't necessarily punish. I just use my body cues and leash pressure to get the dog to lay back down, if that makes sense. So with your dog standing, food lure them down. When they're laying down, good, give them the food. Then take a step back, say good, give a food reward. So every like 5 to 10 seconds, you're saying good and giving a food reward. And then you increase the amount of time between the rewarding so that the dog gets the hint like, oh, if I just lay on this bed, I get food. Yep. If your dog breaks, then in the beginning stages, I just say like, something like that, like an interrupter, and then I guide them back into a down on the bed. But I think you may be expecting too much of your dog too soon, and they just didn't get the whole picture of the place command because you didn't incorporate the down into it.
Right. And I think that last part right there is what I was thinking. The dog just didn't get the whole picture. Or you weren't training place with an implied down. So I know not everyone trains place to mean automatically lie down. I know some trainers train it where the dog has to have 2 paws on the cot, and that's all. Like they can literally step off with 2 feet, and as long as 2 are on, that's still counted. Some say all 4 on the cot, whatever. So there are different ways to train place. But the reason we train it with the implied down is so we get this state of mind change. So it's not just stay on this cot. It's stay here and be calm. That's why we've got 2 sleeping dogs right here, right? So place is like state of mind. So stay here and be calm. So like Susan said, you would want to train it that way. So the dog's not gonna just, if you just train place to mean go into this cot, the dog's not gonna know to just lie down. They probably are gonna stand there and whine because they're gonna be like, what do you want from me? And even if you are further into place training, it's okay to start over. Like, so, because I know you mentioned you're like, well, because you're just starting. Like, you can start over. You can completely retrain it. You can rename it if you want to, or you can just redefine place for the dog, right? By starting over.
Mhm.
And that's okay to do. I'm doing that with Gaia with the command right now. I'm retraining her down because blah, 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 blah. But you can start over. So you would just want to do exactly like Susan said, make place mean go in here and lie down. And you're going to find that you obviously won't have the standing there whining issue. Not only that, but your dog's mindset's going to change because now you're going to have an off switch for your dog, which is really cool. But yeah, or just switch them to raw.
Plug our brand of raw food here. Okay. Next,
They're horrible.
I have heard you talk about the out command. What is it for?
It's for everything. Okay, so out command. The way I explain it is it means to disengage. That could be off of people, that could be off of things, off of food, off of toys, whatever. What it's for is everything. I don't know. So it's like, what is it for? I don't know. It's just for like living with your dog. So everything. I wish I had mad video editing skills where I could like make the rainbow, but I don't have skills like that yet. Yeah. Okay. Place. I mean out. See, gosh, I can concentrate. What it's for is I like to think of it as it's for me. It's like a safety thing, right? So the other day I posted on my story. I'm clumsy and I dropped a whole thing of treats on the ground, and a guy was like, "Ooh," and starts walking over to it, and I was like, "Ow," and she moved away because if she would have ate that whole bag of treats, she would have had a tummy ache. So that was cool, right? So I got her to out away from those treats. These 2 dogs, they both know it. So when I have them off leash and they're just existing together, if one of them gets a little bit weird or one of them gets a little bit uncomfortable, I can say out and they'll walk away from each other. So I don't know that I answered what it was for, but I answered what it did.
Yeah. No, I love out. I used to not teach it, like, really, to client dogs. Like, I taught something similar to my dogs, but now, yeah, I'm teaching client dogs.
What do you tell your guys go on?
Yes, they go on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cute. Guy
So,
knows what that means now for me, by the way.
so out means to drop what's in your mouth or move away from, and it is situational. So the dog will know. But like, it's nice for Jack with his toys because coming to me, Jack was a dog that if someone came to the door, he knocked. So the owners trained him to grab a toy. So he would grab a toy so that he couldn't bark because he's holding this toy. But now this toy's an emotional crutch. So when the people are over, he's whining with his toy in his mouth. When he goes outside, he takes his toy. So he takes his toy outside to go potty. They had him carry his toy on the walk so that he wouldn't bark and lunge at other dogs as much because he's carrying his toy. So it's an obsessive compulsive behavior. So I used out to be like, no, like you're gonna drop your toy. So we'll go down the stairs to the basement. That's where his toys are, and that's where he knows he plays. But if he tries to grab that toy when I'm walking up the stairs, because I'll say, let's go, he'll start to walk up the stairs. I'll look and he'll have his toy in his mouth. And so I can say out, he'll drop it, and then we'll be able to walk up the stairs.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that about Jack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they trained, like, you can train your dog anything. Like, they trained him to kind of have a pacifier. So I'm hoping that they'll, you can't control what people do. I'm going to suggest heavily that they don't allow him to do that anymore. Because,
That's really interesting.
It turned into acute behavior because he carries it outside all the time. So
yeah,
he
I'm not
goes
gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna lie. Like the human in me is like, imagine that little floof carrying a toy around, and I'm like, because when Gaia carries her Jolly Ball, I've trained her when we're done playing to carry her toy back upstairs to my room. I think it's the cutest thing ever. But it's like what you're saying, that is like an emotional crutch for him. That's really
Mhm.
interesting to me. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm a little concerned that that will still continue. But I will suggest that he not do that. And it is cute because when he goes outside to go potty, like they allow him to go off leash outside because he's on an invisible fence. He'll take his toy, go outside, pee, come back in. But if he poops, he won't have his toy. He drops it every time he poops. So the owners will know if he pooped because he came to the door without his toy in his mouth. So they'll be like, "Where's your toy?" And then he'll go back and get his toy and bring it in. But it's like, it's
Yeah.
cute if he didn't have the backstory,
Right.
but he does.
Exactly.
So I'm
Exactly.
going to suggest they don't do that. But anyway,
And just to
back
touch
to
on what you
out.
just do it.
I was gonna say back to out. Um, it means to drop a toy, drop it in your mouth, or like Rachel said, to move away from or disengage. So it's good for when people come over. Because let's say your dog's good, people come over, but they're like way too excited. They're just like wiggly wiggly. They go over to your guest. If you say out, the dog should move away from that person and totally disengage.
Mm-hmm. And they
Because
don't get to go back until they're released. So this doesn't mean walk away and then get right back in their face.
right, yeah, it means disengage from. Like, don't even worry about that person.
I have a little song. It's disengage and walk away. Boom. Okay.
Disengage and walk away. Yeah, but it's good for like, or I think something spilled out of the trash can in the driveway, and Jack was licking the asphalt.
Nice.
I think it was like little breadcrumbs. But anyway, I was able to say out, and he moved away from that. But it's anything. Like you can, it's just so
It's just
cool.
magical. It's just magical.
Yep.
Really cool. Out is awesome.
And one more thing, because out's so great. So Jack is an insecure guy, and he would follow the female everywhere in the house. But I want him to be able to learn that he can exist on his own, independent of other things and people.
Mm-hmm.
So if he gets scared of something and he comes over to me and lays in front of me, I out him away from me. So like I use it for that too.
Nice. That's cool. Okay, because I'm gonna have another thought because we just like to talk about training. That's cool because with insecure dogs or dogs with separation anxiety, one of the things I do is spatial independence, which is basically just like learn to exist not glued to my hip. So
Yeah.
I usually do that with place, but it didn't occur to me until just now to just like use that as like a training thing. So like, nope, out, get away from me. That's cool.
Yes.
So it's
And
like
then
spatial independence, but then they're free
yeah.
this, but just not close to you.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool,
Mhm.
Susan.
It's really cool.
Really cool, my dude. Okay, so let me awkwardly scooch on into the next question.
Scooch.
Scooch dooch.
Beep.
Can you hear all that beeping going on?
No.
Okay, there's construction going on literally right outside the door.
It's funny that I
So
beep beep.
I know. I was like, oh, you heard, it was like literally right when they did it too. Okay. So Susan, how do you know when your dog is ready to be off leash?
So I tell owners, you're ready to like lose the leash if your dog's respecting you and the e-collar. So I of course have the dog dragging a leash for security purposes just in case. So dragging a long line. But you work your dog through all the commands outside, dragging a long line. If you're able to say your dog's name plus here, like so if you're able to recall your dog and they come to you, or if they don't, because they're dogs and they're going to blow you off sometimes, they respect the e-collar and you. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if I say no and correct you, then the dog listens. Same thing with anything, like recall is the most important one. But yeah, is your dog respectful of you and the e-collar? So if you have to say no and correct, the dog's like, sorry about that, and comes over to you, then I'm like, yep, lose the leash, because they are respecting you and the collar. Easiest.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think we've talked about this one before, but I wanted to answer this question again because I feel like a lot of people are in the rush to lose the leash because people who aren't dog trainers don't think about the little steps. They just think about the final picture that they want, which is fine, but like just oh, your kitty. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Do your due diligence or whatever, and like make sure that you work with the dog. So when I finish training a dog, yes, they're off leash trained, but I always tell my owners, I want you to work with your dog inside first, and I want you to work with your dog in the backyard, and then in the front yard, and do all of these things with your dog, so they know, oh yes, all of this transfers to my mom and dad, too, or to my owners, whatever. Do all that, and then just like Susan said, like you're gonna know, like, is the dog listening to you? Because if you're calling your dog 10 times and they're not coming to you when they're dragging a long line, don't take them off leash. But like these guys, Gaia, I am a worry wart. So anyone who knows me knows I worry a lot. It's just who I am, whatever. I had Gaia for a while before I will let her be off leash because partially because I didn't train her. She came to me trained, so I wanted to make sure that our relationship was solid. But I know if I just say her name, she looks at me and is like, "Are you about to call me? What are you going to tell me to do?" Right? So I know that she responds to that. So I feel comfortable now in situations where she's off leash. And I like what I was gonna say go check out Susan's story, but by the time we post this, the story's gonna be gone. But
I'll
that's
save it.
your
I'll
call.
save it as a highlight. I really should.
You should. Do you have highlights on your page?
Not yet.
Okay, well, Susan's gonna have highlights on her page by the time y'all see this, so it's out there. So that means you got to do it. But Susan just posted a great video of her dog Jack, her client dog that she's training right now, went to go chase something and she recalled him away. Like, go Susan. But my point was, like, you're gonna hopefully have a situation like that when your dog's dragging a long line before you take them off leash. So I tell my owners, like, if you ever have to use the e-collar, like, don't think of it as a bad thing. Think of it as a way to know, okay, my dog understands this pressure and they respond to it.
Yep.
So Gaia one time was chasing something in the backyard, recalled her, she blew me off. No, e-collar pressure, turned around and came right back to me. And I'm like, cool. So now I know if we're off leash hiking, you're chasing a deer or a squirrel or whatever, I know that you're going to respect this. So I
Right.
feel like, okay, I we're good now because I know you know what the color means, you respect it, and you respect me. So
I thought of something I want to say to you. I'm gonna write it down so we remember for our trainers talk after this.
yay, my favorite. But that's where I'm at with that. And it's okay if it takes you a while to feel comfortable to lose the leash because again, I worry. Um, but you'll know when you know. Like with me with Gaia one day I was just like, you know what? She's a fully trained dog. She listens to me verbal only pretty much all the time. So you'll know with your dog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all. Let's awkwardly
Um,
scoot on to the next one.
yeah,
That's my
scoot,
new
scoot.
favorite thing now.
We'll be like, scoot. Okay.
Scoot, scoot.
I can't afford an e-collar right now. Can I still stop my dog from getting in the trash?
Yes. Mhm. So, e-collar is just one of the many tools in our toolbox and in your toolbox. So, couple things. First off, go you, go you, because I'm going to assume by you saying that you can't afford an e-collar right now, I'm going to assume you mean that you're saving up for a quality e-collar. So go you, because I really appreciate that. Because if you're going to get an e-collar, go the right way.
Really, don't blow your money on a $50 e-collar. It's just a waste. Like,
Nope,
don't do it.
just
It's
just
not gonna
just
work.
save that up 3 or 4 times and get a good one.
Yes.
Um, yes. So what was the question? Oh yeah, sorry, completely zoned out. So thank you for saving up for a good e-collar. Go you. In the meantime, yes, you can still do some things about that. To not answer your question, I am going to say, why is your dog having the freedom to get in the trash? So that's just step one. You can put your dog in the crate when you're not directly supervising them. But I know that's kind of like a, well, that doesn't answer my question. But why is your dog getting into the trash? That being said, there are other deterrents. Is that the word I'm looking for? Yep. Thank you, Susan. There are other ways. So like, you're gonna have to catch your dog. So if you see your dog getting in the trash, you can say, mark it with no, mark it with mark it with whatever your word is, mark it no, and then you can spray them with a spray bottle, or you can use compressed air. You can finger tap them. You can use a bunker. There are other punishers other than a knee collar that can still work. A knee collar is going to be easiest because it's literally no, boop, easy. But you can stop them other ways. Something like getting in the trash though, like you do want to make that suck. Sorry, I never want you to get in the trash because you can like die from eating something out of the trash can. So I would want everybody to get like a knee collar. But in the meantime, you can use something else from your tool pouch, or you can just put the dog in the crate so they don't have the opportunity to dig in the trash.
So yes, you can stop your dog from getting into the trash. Any of the deterrents that Rachel said you could use, but also longer answer, or like takes a little bit longer, is to become more relevant to your dog. Because not that we want to tell, well, we do want to tell everybody to just train your dog, but if you become more relevant to your dog, they're not going to just randomly get into the trash as much, or they'll listen more so to you squirting them with a bottle, or like you throwing a bonker at them. Because if you think about it, the trash is very appealing. So let's take a dog that has no training, gets into the trash. If you say no and like punish it, it's going to have to be a pretty significant punisher, because they're not getting structure in the rest of their day. So you're trying to control their like crazy state of mind and this really awesome thing they want to get to. Oh.
No, I was just sorry. I was saying you're trying to control their state of mind just in that 1 second.
Oh, yes.
So I was sorry.
Exactly. Like, so if you would become more relevant the rest of the day and like train up your dog to listen to you in other aspects, you won't have to use such a severe punisher for the trash can. You know. So if you have more time, I mean, if the dog keeps getting into the trash and it's like a life or death kind of thing because they keep like ingesting things, then obviously yes, like say no, severe punisher. But if you have the time now, like just become more relevant, train your dog, and then you'll have to use less force to get them to stop, going into the trash.
So I did my little like happy dance because I loved what you were saying. And I got my finger so I didn't forget. It makes me think of something. I'm just gonna say it like really quick and then we'll move on. Okay, so I like analogies, right? That's what it's called, right? I really like them. So as you're sitting there saying that, I'm like dying because I'm like, oh my God, so you sound exactly like something that I tell to people, which I'm not gonna tell. Okay, so I tell people all the time that training is gonna change your life in more ways than just, okay, my dog can walk in a heel now, or my dog can walk in a place. It's gonna help you in so many different places that you would never even think it would have an effect. So one of the analogies that I use is, my parents raised me to have manners. They taught me to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, please and thank you, and all that stuff, right? So when I had my first job interview, I didn't sit down with my parents and practice having an interview with somebody. But from being raised the way I was, I went in with manners and I did all the things that I just knew to do because of how they raised me, and I got the job. I don't know why
so
I like froze right there. So it was like
it was a consequence from the way you were raised. Like the way you were raised allowed you to be able to do a job interview.
Have these life skills.
Yes.
Right. So
you never had to sit down and be taught how to do a job interview. It was just a nice consequence from.
Right. Yep. So like with what you were saying, you train your dog, you become relevant to your dog. You might not have to say, okay, we don't dig in the trash anymore. Like you might, but you might not have to say, hey, Fido, we don't dig in the trash can, because your dog's just gonna know, you know what? We don't live like that anymore. We got rules in this house, right? So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool, man. So always, but yeah, as trainers, you're gonna be surprised at how often we recommend you just train your dog. Sorry. Oh gosh. Okay, is it my turn?
Yeah, sure is. Number 8.
Boom. Okay, Susan. What do you do if What do you do if a dog comes to you for training who has already been trained before? Do you do the training like the past trainer did, so the dog doesn't get confused, or what do you do?
No, because I do training a certain way, and I would be doing a disservice to the dog and the owner if I tried to alter my training, because I already kind of have it set, and I have a good groove. I know exactly what I'm doing. My timing is spot on. So it would be more confusing to try to do it the old way that the other trainer does it, if that makes sense, because I won't know what the heck I'm doing. But I would kind of start fresh. So even if, let's say a dog was trained by Rachel, 2 years go by and the owners are like, hey, we moved, Rachel recommended you, we're interested in your training. I'm still going to train this dog the way I would. I'll start out with food luring, but because it was trained by Rachel, the dog's going to be able to move faster through my program than it would if it was a green dog. A green dog just means it was never trained. So I'm going to utilize like the training that dog had, but in my program. But I'm still going to follow all of my same things. It's just that I'll probably be able to move from food luring to leash pressure to e-collar in like a day or two versus 3 to 4 days that it might take me to do that, because the dog already understands those commands. That's the only way it would really affect me.
Right. I completely agree. So I tell people a lot of times when I'm talking on the phone with people about training their dog, I'm like, hey, these are the commands I teach. Sit down, blah, 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 right? And they're like, well, my dog already knows sitting down. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, good job. But I'm going to start over as if your dog knows nothing, because I want to make sure that me and the dog are on the exact same page every step of the way. I want to make sure that your dog doesn't know sit only in your living room, only with a treat, only under the very exact right circumstance, right? I want to make sure they know my sit, which means sit when I say sit. I don't care where we are.
I was just going to say that also, like, yes, your dog might know down if you say it 4 times.
Right.
I'm having a conversation with the dog through my training that I'm going to say down and you're going to do it. You know, I shared it on my story. This one dog training company, their name is Say It Once Dog Training. And I was like,
yes,
oh,
I saw that. I was like, that's so great.
So great. But
so
yeah,
great.
so even if your dog knows to sit, they might only do it the 3rd time you say it. But with me, just the way I train, they'll do it the 1st time I say it. But I have to start.
I like what you said.
Sorry.
Right. No, crap.
You like what I said?
I like what you said. You said
2 hours later.
I remember what I was going to say now. So
Nice.
for those of you who don't know, because I'm going to cut that 10-minute chunk out where I'm sitting here trying to remember what I was going to say. One thing that I like that you said, Susan, was that you said you'd be doing the dog a disservice by trying to train him the way that past trainer did. I like that for a couple of reasons, because not only would it be a disservice just because you're not going to be training at your best, because you're going to be confused and trying to do things differently. But no offense, because we don't know why that other training worked. That training, the dog's getting retrained. So something there wasn't clicking. So let's start over fresh. Let me give you everything that I have to offer rather than changing to match somebody else. I train the way I train because this is what works best for me. I've changed my training quite a bit, adapting and growing. I'm up here now. Like, I want to continue to train up here because I've worked my way up here. I've learned a lot. I've changed a lot. This is where I'm at. So this is where my dogs are going to be at, right? So no, when your dog comes to me for training, that's great. And like what you said about maybe we'll move along quicker, maybe, yeah. And we'll know because we don't say, okay, it's day 7. That means we have to do this now, right? Like, you have a guideline. But when I'm training, it's going to be, okay, you have a solid understanding of this. Let's move on to the next thing. So while some dogs who it's brand new to might take an extra day, this guy might be a day ahead of schedule. But I want to start from page 1 with him or her. And that's that.
I love that.
If I forget one more thing.
All right. My GSD was attacked at the dog park and now barks and lunges at dogs on the walk. How do I stop this?
So I wish I could say this is like surprising or it doesn't happen often, but unfortunately, as trainers we hear about this a lot. So you'll have a dog who's great, and then you take him to the dog park and he gets attacked, or an off-leash dog attacks your dog, and now your dog is suffering from that, and they're showing that through this leash reactivity, this new anxiety that they've formed, right? So step 1, please stop taking your dog to the dog park because it's not going to help them. Step 2, there's a few different ways to approach that. So your dog is leash reactive now. So we can't think about why your dog's where they're at. Like, it can play a factor, like, whatever. The fact is your dog is leash reactive now, and now you have to deal with that. So what you can do is you can train your dog to heel, right? So take a step back, work inside, work in the backyard, work in your front yard, then go for a walk. Training heel, taking it slow. Because like I said before, it's okay to go back to the beginning. And then what you can do is just correct the unwanted behavior. So when you're out on a walk with a dog, he sees another dog, he locks eyes with it, that's not going anywhere good, right? Because he's leash reactive right now. That's what the question was, right? Did I just imagine that? Okay.
You're right.
The dog is loading on something. We know that that's about to lead to him freaking out and barking. So you would just correct that. Yes, he's just looking at the other dog, but that's going to lead to him freaking out. You can correct that with a verbal no and a leash pop and keep walking. You can do a 180, leash pop him, move away from it. You can bonk him, whatever, but there needs to be something. I'm just looking at the dog is no. Cut that out right now before it escalates. Maybe later down the line, if you've learned to mind your manners, sure, you can glance at other dogs, but right now, just looking at another dog is going to lead to something ugly. So we're going to stop that now. And that's what I think.
Yeah, so I was working one of my client dogs, this happened to them, and we did things a little bit backwards because he just wanted to go for a walk. He didn't want to do food luring. He's like, let's just go, he's like, I want to be able to take my dog for a walk, okay? And it was a large breed dog, so we went outside, and he was, let's say, 30 feet away from my dog. So the owner's standing with his dog, leash and prong, and I bring Sadie out of my car, let's say 30 feet away, and this dog goes nuts. Ballistic, screaming, barking, flailing, pretty ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So I put my dog into a down, and I went and addressed it because the owner was having a hard time. In that situation, I don't give a crap if I can get you to heel right now. Mm-hmm. I need you to be able to exist around this dog. So we did it backwards because instead of doing heel and all of the base work, I just corrected him for acting like a jerk. You're not allowed to act like a jerk when you see another dog. I just want you to be able to exist. And it wasn't that Sadie was that close. She was significantly far away. So I did almost everything that Rachel said. I had to do leash pop. I had to do 180s. I did spatial pressure. It took all of that for the dog to finally be able to be like, okay, I can just sit here. And I'm like, yeah, the dog's not going to do nothing to you. Just sit here. And he's like, oh, okay. But you can do that as well. If you just want your dog to be able to exist, you might have to put a lot of pressure on your dog though. So be prepared for that. If you want to be fair and gentle, start out with teaching heel inside, like Rachel said, then outside, in your front yard, backyard, to be extremely fair. But for this guy, I did just correct it because it was very significant. But yeah, either way,
it
was good.
Yeah, and I honestly think either way is fine. I think if you have, no matter which one you do first, at the end of the day, having both is going to be your best bet. Because then instead of your dog just being all willy-nilly the whole walk, now this was different, right? Because you set it up. You weren't on a walk. You were just on the leash. That's kind of different. But like you said, you have to use a little bit more pressure. But this dog was also a severe case. But if you're just which is fine if you do it this way, but just be prepared. If you take your dog out and his mindset is everywhere the whole walk, so he's already amped, and then he sees another dog, and now he's extra amped, you're going to have to use a lot more pressure. Whereas if your dog knows heel, he's chilling, he sees another dog, he's kind of getting a little, nope, can't do that, and now we're going to keep walking, right?
Yeah. And it's nice because so if you teach them heel first, you're teaching your dog, this is what I want. And then when they act out, this is no, I don't want that.
Mhm.
So it's very fair because you already taught them what you wanted. Now you have to teach them, no, don't do that. Like, yes, do this.
Mhm.
No, don't do that.
But your way
So,
works too, and like you said, it was a setup. So like
mhm.
I like that. Like when you're working with a professional trainer, or like when you really kind of feel like you know what you're doing and you can safely set up a situation. Sure, like make it very clear that we're not going to act like this, and that's fine. Then go from there.
Right.
That's
But if
pretty
you're
cool.
like doing this on your own, it would be beneficial to start out with a heel. Like,
Right. It
the
would
dog.
just give you like, what's the word, like not an advantage, but maybe an advantage. It would give you like a little bit more.
Like, it
I don't
sets
know.
you up for success.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It gives you a little bit of a head start, but either way works.
Yeah. All right. Last question.
Golly gee. Okay.
Oh my
Question.
goodness.
Okay. Should I crate my dog in the car?
You tell me. I'm gonna steal Rachel's answer. You tell me. So when I get a newborn train and they're not humongous, so Jack, he was in a kennel because I have no idea what the heck you're gonna do in there in my car loose, right? So when I brought Jack home, he's in a kennel. But I train my dogs outside of the kennel. So when I was doing kennel drills with Jack, there's no kennel back there. I just teach like a calm energy around the car, and then once he's in the car, I do an auto down, so he has to be in a down in the car. But this is all outside of the crate. So me personally, as an owner and trainer, I do not crate my dog in the car. But there's nothing wrong with crating your dog in the car.
Mhm.
So if it gives you more of a security blanket, like if it helps you feel better to crate your dog, do it. It's up to you.
Yeah. No, I agree with what you say. Same way. I don't use a crate in the car. If I am in the car with a dog who is new to me, which for me doesn't happen super often because I go to my client's house, um, but I will back tie the dog to something in my car. So again, I'm a worst case scenario thinker. So if this dog's got any people issues, I don't want to kind of be attacked while I'm driving because the dog's freaked out. Or I don't want you like freaking out, jumping at my windows because you see a dog outside. Or when we get to where we're going, I don't want you to run out of my car. So for dogs that aren't fully trained or I don't really know very well yet, I do back tie them. But other than that, we train our dogs to just be calm in the car. So just lay down when we're in the car for the most part. So yeah, but again, if you do have your dog in the crate, that's cool. One thing I do suggest for that is make sure your crate is secure. Just because I have seen crates in the car and you take a turn and the crate flips
Ew.
over. So like to me, that's kind of like that poor dog. So as long
Wow.
as your crate's like secure, then go either way. But yeah, you definitely want to have your dog calm in some way, whether that be calm because you've trained them to automatically down in the car, or calm because they're in the kennel. Because again, before I trained my parents' dog Blue, he did almost make me get into a car accident because he decided to jump over. He was in like the backpack of my car. He jumped into the middle of the row and then jumped into my passenger seat while I
Oh,
was driving. And I was like fresh gotten my license then, so that wasn't fun. So do whatever is safest for you and your dog in the car.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us on our extended version Q&A. I think this one was a little bit longer than normal, but
Right.
it's our
Because we
first
just
time
had
back.
so much to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks
So,
everyone for watching. If you like it, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Pack Leader Dog Training and at Rachel Polar Dog Training. Please ask us your questions. We love answering them. Obviously, I don't know if y'all could tell, Susan and I love talking about dog training. So let us know what you got, and we'll be happy to help y'all the best we can.
bye.
See ya.